Look, I know the Africa Cup of Nations is the biggest story in Africa. Of course it is. It's a motherland. We're all about African football. But, to be fair, the Champions League is coming up and there are a number of Africans who are going to be taking part in that game between Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspurs. All English final, they say in England. Here in Kenya, we apparently say it's an all Kenyan final. Are you kidding me? Come on, guys. It's not an all Kenyan final. I want to say this from the start. I want a Kenyan to win the Champions League this season. That's a statement of fact. Now, immediately you'll think, duh, two players in the final, of course we're going to have a Kenyan win. But really, are we? Are we really? I've heard this debate, and a journalist recently brought it up, about Victor Wanyama and Divock Origi and that particular game and what it meant to be an all-Kenyan final. I just want to say this, and I want to say this very categorically. Victor Wanyama is a Kenyan, Divock Origi is not. Calm down, don't get all emotional. It's a matter of fact. Let me explain. Walk with me. Look, Divock Origi is not Kenyan. That's a fact. He's never been in camp for Harambee Stars. He's never tried out for Harambee Stars. Heck, he's never even played to qualify us to any tournament. Not that we have qualified in recent times, but it's basic. This is a Belgian. Stop saying it's an all-Kenyan final. He is not Kenyan. He played in the 2014 World Cup for Belgium, scoring that fantastic goal for against Russia for his national side. So he may have heritage to this country, but he is not Kenyan. No doubt in my mind. So we mean there's only one Kenyan in the Champions League final. Back to my original statement, which was simple. I want a Kenyan to win the Champions League final. Question is, let's pretend we can claim Divock Origi as our own. Even if he were Kenyan, do you think it would be an all-Kenyan final or all Kenyans on the bench kind of final? Because it's hard to have an argument for Victor Wanyama starting. It's hard to have an argument for Divock Origi starting. You have Firmino. Seriously, how are you going to tell me that Firmino is going to sit on the bench for Divock Origi? I know he's a big game player against Everton, against Russia, the World Cup I was talking about. He steps up, but this is not just a big game. This is the biggest game in club football, the Champions League final. No chance he's going to do it. No way is he in the starting 11. Victor Wanyama, though, I could put up a case for him, because if he starts, then that midfield will have a big problem for Liverpool. He's the kind of physical person you want in there. He's a bully. He wants to push you around, and you won't have a clean kind of game build-up that Liverpool likes. So I would start Victor Wanyama. But then again, I'm not the coach, and I've never coached. But there is a guy who's coached. A man who substituted himself as a player back in '95. Everton were playing against Tottenham Hotspurs, surprisingly, and he put himself in and scored 2 goals in the process. He has been a player for the Super Eagles at the World Cup a number of times, Olympics, and he's also coached the Super Eagles. Nigeria's very own Daniel the Bull Amokachi shared his thoughts with me via WhatsApp video, and here's what he had to say about Victor Wanyama and Divock Origi and their chances of starting. Take a listen.
For those two players you're talking about, Firmino has a wonderful season. Salah is still having a wonderful season, but unfortunately both players, struggled with injury, and they missed, the semi-final. But at the same time, I think Firmino and Salah have been instrumental for Liverpool. And if you watch the last game, Mane wasn't himself because Firmino and Salah wasn't in the side. Origi, definitely, he made a lot of difference, and that's why you need a depth in the team for such players. You come in, you put him in, and then he tells the coach, yes, I am a decent player, and definitely, I deserve to be in the team. But for any manager in the world, when you have such trio in the world, Mane, Salah, and Firmino fit, I think they will be the right players to start. And of course, for Wanyama, I think Wanyama against Spurs, it's normal. Wanyama haven't had that 90 minutes of football, in a lot of games in the season. But at the same time, I think it's a key player in the Spurs, qualification and getting into the final and finishing the top 3, in the EPL. So, but it will be dicey. For me, I will start him. I won't start him, but it's not for me to say, but it's for the manager. But if he starts, I think he will be an instrumental player, in the sports team. That's for me. Well, you know me, like I always say, holla if you hear me. I hope you enjoy my analysis.
See, told you, Amokachi agrees with me. There is no way Divock Origi is starting if Firmino is fit. And then also Victor Wanyama starting would be a good idea for the coach. He would be the reason that I would put my money on Tottenham Hotspurs. In case he starts, then I'd put my money there. I love the insight of Amokachi. In fact, I love the way he explains things. I've worked with him before. You know what, I should actually get his thoughts on the Africa Cup of Nations and what could transpire. Not just him, I should look at legends across Africa of the game, of this beautiful game. Actually, that's a good idea. Get different legends from different countries and their opinion and predictions on who will get to the... that's what I'll do next week. I digress. Forget about that. I'll work on that. But for now, it's the Champions League finals. I don't care what you're doing on Saturday, 10 o'clock East Africa time. I don't care where you are, who you're with. You cannot miss that game. Not just because there are plenty of Africans playing in it, but because we have a Kenyan, one Kenyan in the final, which is, again, my key statement. I hope a Kenyan wins the Champions League final this season. All right, that's Chico's take. See ya.